you know what we should do is we should switch gears and go to some
Yeah.
questions. I sent you 10
Yeah.
questions ahead of time that I always like to ask my guests because this is always not my favorite part, but I love this section because it always throws some
Totally.
interesting things. So, favorite Tom Petty album. I don't even need to ask you. I don't think.
Into a Great Wide Open,
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I should say. Yeah, like, oh my God, mate. Yeah, it's, and for me, there's no debate because it's obviously the emotional connection to this album.
Yeah.
That you could definitely pull it apart and go, look, musically, perhaps whatever. Some people might say, hey, look, it's not as authentic or as rootsy as, say, in, the first three albums, and or like, and then obviously you can take Wildflowers, for Christ's sake. Is a monumental piece of genius. So,
Yeah.
but for me, it's not that that's too obvious. It's just, it's an emotional thing. It's like, I've taken this album around the world with me. This album has gone, it's gone to Nepal, Thailand, Australia, um, America, Belize. One of the most awesome moments was with my wife. We were in Belize and I just listened to this album. I was half cut, probably on cocktails or whatever, and I listened to the entirety of the album with headphones in, with this stupidly stunning sunset and scene in
Yeah.
front of me. And if it's not that, it's terrible moments in my life where I just need something to keep my mind from falling apart. Like gardening on my own, like aged, I don't know, 25, 26, and just needing to tune out. I had a similar experience with Crowded House. They're another band that mean an awful lot to me. Yes, cheesy as all hell, but I think they're incredible. And cheesy as hell to say that, I might add. But yeah, Into the Great Wide Open, man. Like
Yeah.
we said earlier, he paints pictures, he lets you escape, tells you stories with a bit of a cheeky smile. But at the same time gets completely to the crux of what it is to be a human being. And then ends it with Built to Last, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I suppose, his tribute to like Benny King, I guess.
100%. Yeah. Stand by Me.
Yeah,
That big R&B thing. So
yeah,
here's a question for you then. If you were going to give, because me and John, when we do our season things, we always pick a 3-song EP, or we try to say, if you were going to pick 3 songs to
yeah,
convince someone about this album who maybe isn't a Petty fan, which 3 songs would
yeah.
you go for?
I have,
Because
I
that's a harder
have.
question.
It's so difficult. It's really, really hard, man. Because I think, in my mind, I'm thinking like, look, across the genres, right? If I'm talking to a metalhead who also likes, a bit of Dylan on the side or whatever, then I would say Running Down a Dream because it's got the one of the fattest riffs Mike
Yeah.
ever wrote. But then you've got that track on playback, which starts with the vocal, with that guitar like being plugged into the amp,
Yeah.
and then Petty going, "Oh, baby, when you touch me there,"
Yeah.
and down,
But
down, down, down,
But from this album, I'm talking this album only, though. I'm talking Into the Great
But
Wide Open. If you try to
yeah,
convince someone about Into the Great Wide Open, what are your 3 songs that are going to knock people's
I
socks off?
think I think it would probably be making some noise
Yeah.
because it's just an absolute, what was it that Dave Grohl says, like a barn burner or something in the
Yeah.
song.
When he's talking about Honeybee. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that obviously Learning to Fly because it's the most universally beautiful song. And then I think it's a toss up between Dark of the Sun or just looking at the track listing quickly. Like I really, yeah, it's so difficult. Then it gets really dark, really, really hard. You and I will meet again.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you and I will meet again. So we'll be expecting. It's very
Yeah.
beautiful, It's this is his very, very much a heart on the sleeve as it gets. Probably maybe like like I know Built to Last. That's heart on the sleeve, but so
Yeah.
I'd probably go with those 3. So making some noise. Oh
Learn
my
to
God,
fly. Learning to
learning
fly.
to fly,
Yeah.
and
And you
you and
know
I'll
me
meet
again.
again.
And it's a nice spread too of sonics on that too, right? So you've got 3
Yeah,
different looks at Petty as a vocalist.
yeah.
They are different musically, because Learn to Fly is very anthemic. Only 3 chords the entire way through that song. You know me again.
Oh
You get
wow.
those little Beatlesy flavors and Beatlesy moments and making some noise. It's just that riff, right? I mean, that riff
Yeah,
alone would do me, So awesome.
totally, mate.
Okay. Second question: Mudcrutch or the Traveling Wilburys? I think I know what I think. I always like trying to guess. I think I know this one
Yeah.
too.
Well, yeah, Traveling Wilburys. Like,
Yeah.
that album was on non-stop growing up, like
Yeah.
non-stop. So I've I've got it. I've got it in my record collection. I've got, I think, a couple of singles, I think, as well off that album. And yeah, I mean, handle with care, for God's sake.
Well, End of the Line
Stupid.
too. End of the Line is just,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah,
so many songs on that record that you think, wow. And written
totally.
every song written in one day, recorded in one day,
Yeah,
no sort of overthinking, just five guys who just enjoyed hanging out, enjoyed making music, and they just did it for the love of doing it.
yeah.
Just incredible.
I think it's really interesting though, because Petty, obviously being like, I, from a British perspective anyway, I suppose was the small
Yeah,
maybe the smallest on that lineup, perhaps.
yeah.
And because they were all like massively iconic, and then for me as a massive Petty fan growing up, I'd be like, yeah, but Petty was involved with these guys, so
Yeah,
he's cool. Okay, get
yeah.
behind him, or back. I follow a cool guy, or a legit genius here. And then but also you hear Dylan messing around, right? It's fun, right?
Yeah, that's the word I always use to describe it. If there's one word you're going to use to describe the Wilburys, it's fun. And it's what
Yeah,
carried over into Full Moon Fever, and it's what carried over into The Great Wide Open, that sense of
yeah,
looseness and not taking everything so seriously. Take what you do seriously, but never take yourself seriously. And that's where there was a
totally.
real flip there, I think, for Tom in that period, and when he really became Californian and LA but that was the
And
final straw. I said, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm
because
Tom
he's going
Petty,
through
but
a
that's
lot
put
of,
that side. Yeah,
but he went through a lot of problems, wasn't he? He's going through a
yeah,
lot of problems, with his marriage and what have you. So I'm sure there was a great release being with those boys. And obviously, you guys have the people you've spoken to previously on the show, the chemistry and the weird get together of the Wilburys and what have you, and how
yeah,
that all came about. Blah 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 blah. I don't need to talk about that, but it's
yeah.
it's great. Once you start unearthing it, and if anybody who's listening to this who hasn't listened to it before, that story is definitely worth uncovering, how the Wilburys came to be.
Instead of traffic lights. But I love there's that little 22, 23-minute documentary that's online that you can always go watch. You just see him pottering around the house, and it's Roy
Yeah,
Orbison, and it's Bob Dylan, and it's George Harrison, and it's Jeff Lynne, and it's Tom Petty. And you just think someone in that room should have an ego. But they don't.
right.
They're all just making music together. I love that.
Bizarre. It's
Again, I
truly
mean, just
bizarre.
that little story about, when George Harrison goes out to use the bathroom or something, and Dylan leans over to Tom Petty and says, "That guy was in the Beatles." It's so cute.
I love that. And when, the most beautiful moments when George first gave Tom a hug, and did he say something like, "We're going to be friends forever," or something? Or not like
Yeah,
that, but it was words to that effect.
yeah.
I mean, Jesus freaking Christ, having met a Beatle myself for, many, many times,
Yeah.
I know what those people are. I know what they're like. They're from working stock, and they're real people. They're not bullshitters.
If you could join the Heartbreakers on stage for one song, what would
Yeah.
it be? And would you both play and sing, or would you just play it, or would you just sing?
So I've been thinking about it long and hard, and it's going to be "Listen to Our Heart," and I would play rhythm guitar, and I'll
Nice.
do backing vocals because it is the ultimate backing vocal song, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just stay on A, just stay on A, and it's got the best ending to any Petty song
Yeah.
possibly. I don't know, question mark, open question mark. But yeah, man, what a
Yeah.
tune. There's a reason they stuck that the beginning of the set for so long, right?
Well, and that was the one that one of my guests, Ivan Anderson, said is a little song. And I as soon as he said that, that's always stuck with me. And it's like, yes,
Right.
it is a
Yeah.
little song, and it's a great
Yeah.
song, and that's not disparaging, but it's a little song. It's just a
Yeah.
small idea, and it's quite short, and it gets in, it
Yeah.
gets out. It's like, that's a great way of describing that. I love it.
Well, like the apartment song, right?
Yes, another
Yeah.
great example of it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not really a big idea. It's not. It's just this. It's a little song. I love it. Who would
Yeah.
you be your dream opening act at a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers concert? So you said you already saw. Who did you say opened in MSG?
Buddy
Buddy
Guy.
Guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is really hard, dude, but it just because I haven't seen them before and they're on my bucket list. The only band I've left to see is REM. And I thought REM, if they just did, if it is a fantasy, so it's fine. It's
Absolutely.
cool.
We got time travel. We got fancy. We're all
Right.
good. Yeah.
So I would just I don't want to bring people back from the dead because that's daft. Okay, this is hypothetical, so it doesn't really matter. But I'd love to see them do just like deep cuts. So they didn't upstage Petty. So you weren't leaving them going like, fucking hell, wow. But REM would be amazing. And or like Neil Finn or Crowded House, just because I think that would be quite a good marriage. And I still haven't seen Crowded House, but
That would
REM would
flow.
be, it would, man.
Crowded House would flow. I'm a huge
Yeah.
Crowded House fan. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think there's parallels with Petty as well, because Neil Finn's a superb lyricist. He's also
So
very
good.
meticulous about the way he puts songs together. His songs are
Yeah.
often quite sparse. They're not, they're not busy and overdone. So I see there's a lot of kinship between those. So I think it'd be great together. I think they'd sound good together as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what I came to, dude. That's what my end result was. REM.
Nice. Favorite band member other than Tom?
It's that was really really tricky, dude. Because like Rob Blair, because he just came back and nailed it, and because he just seems like possibly one of the loveliest men in the world.
Yeah.
But then having met Steve Ferroni, he's adorable. It's a bloody impossible. It's a stupidly impossible question.
I know. When I wrote him, I'm like, well,
know,
that's not fair. That one's not fair.
no,
That's too
it's
hard.
not. So I'll just say. I'm just going to say Ron Blair because I reckon he'd give me really good advice. I reckon he's someone to go, look, I'd give him a really big problem. He'd go, well, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I'd go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Ron Blair says, it's okay.
Well, speaking to Jake Thistle, he said that Ron is exactly what you think he is. He's just the nicest man, very calm.
Yeah.
Great musician, a great collaborator. And Jake's been trying to convince him to sell a guitar to him for about 3 years now. So I guess
there's a voice for you, Jake Thistle. Bloody hell.
Good Lord, hey.
Wow.
Kid's got the world at his feet.
Thanks for putting his music our way, the podcast, the Petty podcast fraternity, because I hope so. I hope he goes some distance, because he's pure skill, pure talent.
What a voice. Okay, so if you could go to see and you've been to see Petty twice, and it was a little bit underwhelmed, so this is a good question for you, I think. If you could see any Tom Petty concert from history, which one would you go to?
Well, sorry, go on, mate.
I was going to say, and you can pick a specific era too, or a tour, But...
Well, a lot of people do say the Fillmore, right? The gigs and what have you, but that's an awful lot of cover.
Yeah,
true. That's a lot of cover. I mean, I want to hear the deep cuts. But having said that, I just simply don't know. But Royal Albert Hall, perhaps. But then that was a tribute to George, wasn't it? So that doesn't really count. But I really struggled with this one, mate, because maybe his last gig, obviously for obvious reasons. But then I don't know the set list to that because. But I think perhaps perhaps the last one at the Hollywood, was it the Hollywood Bowl?
Yeah.
Because obviously that is just the most stupidly beautiful venue ever on God's green earth. But maybe I think somewhere around 80, 81. But then I'm just spitballing here because for me that's harder than picking my favorite member of the Heartbreakers because I mean, I have a fantasy. I'd love to see him at Shepherd's Bush Empire. I had an amazing touchstone dream about meeting Tom Petty and hanging out with him, and then seeing him open with an album, like a deep cut off Damn Torpedoes. And but I have fucking no idea. Like that, it's hard. I'm opting out. This is bad, isn't it? But I'll go Hollywood. I'll go with
last one.
Hollywood. Oh yeah. Screw it.
Oh, I thought you might go with the Take the Highway, like with the Into the Great Wide Open tour, because that one again had the big set, right? So you had the tree, and you
Wembley
had the performative piece, or it would have been kind of cool. So
it goes on, and then you've had guests on that talk about like the early 77 gigs and stuff, and then you can get those on Spotify, can't you? And they sound amazing. So maybe I'm more of a Ramones fan like that. So maybe I'll be like more into the dirt of a small venue, that maybe. So fuck it, I'm gonna go with that. I'm reversing my answer. I'm going with the small radio venue one on Spotify.
Perfect. Okay, Wall Circus or Walls number 3, which is your favorite version?
That's the one with Lindsey Buckingham on. That's 3, right?
That's Circus.
That's Circus. Okay, I'm going with that one. That's phenomenal. That is just like, are you kidding me? I played that once to a girl. As because I was an idiot and I was trying to impress her, and we buy a log fire, and I think she was a bit sad anyway, and she started crying. What is that? It's
Yeah,
beautiful. They're very
and a great opening line again. That's something I talk about lots with people. Is knack for writing just the best opening line. It's incredible. Some days are diamonds, some
yeah
days are rocks. And I know that he got that from Johnny
yeah.
Cash, but still had the prescience to put that in a lyric and use it as the opening lyric. Like I said, you got a heart so big it could crush this town. Who writes that? It's incredible.
Totally. And it's beautiful because he's talking about someone that's really vulnerable and troubled. And like
Yeah,
you do have a really big heart. So just don't let this piece of shit world destroy you,
yeah,
because you're bigger than this town, chimes back into the, lost in a one-story town,
yeah,
where everything turns back around. I love that. Same shit goes down,
yeah,
blah blah blah. You know the lyrics. But I mean, like, I love that. And I think that's why a lot of there's a specific set of women that love Tom Petty because he
yeah,
taps into that vulnerability that a lot of women feel, that other artists don't really have the courage to go to.
yeah. Someone
Male.
said, I can't remember who it was. Might have been Janet Lovell or maybe Katie Moulton. They were talking about, one of my female guests was talking about that's one thing that Tom never did. Tom never objectified women in his lyrics,
Right.
in his
Yeah.
life. They were never props in songs. If women were in songs, they were there for a reason, and they were there specifically, and they were either empowered but they were never sort of just. He was never mistreating women, which is
Totally.
of that era is pretty rare, right? And you think about the
Oh,
Faces and the Stones and
absolutely.
all
Oh
those
my
bands.
God. The subjectification of women is
Yeah,
absolutely what turned me off and still turns me off 90% of mainstream music. Like I
yeah,
can't listen to it as a child. I deeply loved my mother and deeply adored my mum and dad's relationship.
yeah,
And whenever it was like, oh, I mean, I didn't get the connotations of Led Zeppelin when I was a kid,
yeah.
but squeeze your lemon to the juice runs down my leg and all. I was like, fuck it, what's that all about?
You can't say
Robert,
that.
Robert, what you really want to do is get like a bit of tissue and or squeeze the lemon into a jar.
There's a great
You
little
bloody bad man.
my mom tells a story when my granddad first when she was because she listened to Led Zeppelin, my granddad would tolerate it. But when he heard the Lemon song and it finally dropped, what he was saying, he's singing about sex. And that was the end of that
Yeah.
record, So
That's very Monty Python, isn't it?
yeah, it's
And
so
I
funny.
Yeah, and I think like the lady who you had on the show that spoke about she did in Straight into Darkness, a song entirely about that one
The book,
song.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think she highlighted that,
That's right. Yeah, that's who it was.
and my God, what a song that is. And like,
Oh,
yeah, and I think it's always amazed me that my wife hasn't fallen more deeply into Tom's music, but screw it, there's plenty of time. But yeah,
yeah. My wife's a greatest hits fan.
yeah,
She always
yeah.
says like I'll play Tom Petty. So who's this? Tom Petty. Oh, this is Tom Petty as well. I didn't
Yeah,
realize this was Tom Petty, and I didn't realize this was Tom Petty, and I didn't realize this was Tom
yeah.
Petty, and I'd never seen the video for "Don't Come Around Here No More," and of course that's her favorite thing in the world now. But
Oh yeah, it's mad, brilliant, isn't it? It's wonderfully artistic. But I like sorry, just really quickly. I think
yeah.
Harry Green is a song that
Oh,
I've
dude,
always wanted my wife to really think about and get into. And I've written a character in my book that's based around that kind of vibe. And
yeah,
I was writing a screenplay not so long ago with a Harry Green character in it, and then I've written specifically Harry Green into a song lyric recently, and
yeah,
it's beautiful, it's wonderful.
yeah. And that to me, that character, the first time I heard that song, it struck me. So, well, this Harry's gay, and
Right.
he's worried about being outed at school, and there's all so that character to write about that as deftly as he did, it's a shame because I mean obviously the melody of that and the guitar part went on to become Angel Dream, but it's a shame
Okay,
that
I
that
didn't know
song never
that.
sort of if you listen to it again, it's like, oh yeah, of course that's the same, it's the same
Okay, yeah.
basically same pattern, a little bit modified, but yeah,
That's interesting.
sensational song again. And
Yeah,
we get it on Wildflowers and all the rest, however many years
yeah.
later, and what a joy that was. But okay, if you could pick, you've covered Tom Petty yourself a number of times, but if you could pick
I
any artist to cover Tom Petty, what song would it be and who would you have cover it?
well, this has taken me a while, but I arrived at it. The Future Heads covering either I Won't Back Down or Free Falling. So the Future Heads did, for those of you who don't know, they covered Oh my God, Hounds of Love, really famously by
Okay.
Kate Bush, but they did it in the most magnificent way. They've done an a cappella album, but they are a very, very they're kind of like they're around the early noughties. They came around with that
Okay.
angular post-punk sound, and they also have a fantastic song called "Decent Days and Nights." Anyway, I think a really speeded up version that still pays real homage to the song of "Free Falling" could sound absolutely spectacular with three-part harmonies. And I think if anybody out there gives a shit about what I'm talking about, go and listen to their version of Hounds of Love. It is
Okay.
absolutely incredible. The way it opens up,
I
it's
honestly, I mean,
absolutely great,
because I'd
incredible.
left England by this point, so if they're an English band and they're in that sort of, because I've never heard them, never heard of them,
Yeah,
so I'll have to go back
yeah.
and listen to that because that sounds interesting.
Their debut album is absolutely, it's a masterpiece. And yeah, so that's for me would be absolutely
Cool.
cool as hell. Almost as cool as Flaming Lips doing "Listen to Her Heart," which I still think is probably one of the best covers of a Petty song ever. I think.
I love Cyber Attack's version, man. Ivan Anderson's version of
Oh,
that song was so freaking cool.
when you sent me that, I was genuinely gobsmacked about how damn cool that was.
Yeah,
It is very cool.
he's a great musician. But what I was thinking, I was listening to the album today. Something struck me that making some noise, I could totally see Aerosmith playing that song.
Oh,
That's
really?
it.
Okay.
That would sit in Joe
Joe
Perry's
Perry.
hands so
Yeah.
easily, and in Steven
Yeah.
Tyler's mouth because it's got
I guess
that dirty
that.
swagger they had, So
Right. Yeah. Totally. I mean, there's a cock rock band, but
oh
I said,
yeah,
but also, I don't know. Yeah. They've they could absolutely just destroy,
yeah.
couldn't they?
They
It would
did
be
what they did.
absolutely amazing.
Aerosmith did what they did better than
Yeah.
anyone else, really. That sort of really dirty, low swung. I mean, it's a cheap Led Zeppelin knockoff. We all know that, but they do it really, really, really well. No one else did it better than
Have
them.
you ever seen them live?
I haven't. I
They're
had the
pretty
opportunity
good.
to see them in Saskatoon here when they came on the Honkin' on Bobo tour, but I wasn't a big fan of that album. So I
Yeah.
didn't go, and I should have done because that's the last time they came through here. But if they come
Yeah.
through Canada when they reschedule this farewell tour, then I probably will go and see them because yeah, it's probably going to be the last chance, right? So
It's well worth it. I saw them with Black Crows at Wembley Stadium, the old Wembley Stadium, and with
man,
Stereophonics, sadly. But
wow. Oh, you don't like the
yeah,
Phonics?
no, sorry, mate. I can't
Oh,
stand the Stereophonics. I like the first two albums are fantastic.
yeah,
Like, absolutely love their first two albums. Sorry, I can't, I don't like them. But it was a mental gig. But yeah,
yeah.
that, just put Tom Petty in that lineup, and it would have been pretty. You can put Tom Petty in most lineups, to be
Yeah.
fair, except for like maybe Download.
Well, I mean, the Crows would have been a perfect opener for Petty too, right? Because they've got that
I That's
same
a
sensibility, and
good call,
I
good
love those
call.
guys. So, I mean, if there's anyone I could sing like, I mean, apart from Freddie, which would just be a bit too overwhelming, I think. You know,
Overwhelming for you.
Chris
You just
Robinson would be
yeah.
that guy can sing anything for me. I love that guy's voice.
Yes. Yeah, I saw the Brixton Academy. That was incredible.
Wow.
My mate drunk out of his tits, passed out on my shoulder for most of the gig,
Is
but
that the one they
that was
recorded? Is that the one that's on the live album?
possibly
Didn't they do it? I thought
possibly.
they did a yeah.
But they did. There was the Lion tour, I think, or Lions tour, or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, and like, you're right there, man. I think those guys opening up for Petty would be pretty spectacular, pretty good.
It's a man of a thousand voies. Don't
Yeah,
need any more
right.
guests.
Yeah.
I'll just say, oh, we're going to bring on Ringo Starr, and you can just do the impression.
Yeah.
There we
Hey, John, have you seen Paul?
go. Okay, what song? And again, I would say this is probably the worst question I wrote because I didn't frame it very well. But what song do you most frequently recommend to people who don't know Tom's music? Because of course it depends who they are and what they're into.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I've done this before, I'm a bit pissed, or like, when I don't know if I'm allowed to reference drugs on this show, I don't know, but I don't do coke anymore, but I used to, and used to get, I don't know, you probably haven't done coke. I hope you haven't.
I haven't.
Terrible drug. It's disgusting. But when you do it, it makes you natter like an absolute crazy lunatic, and you go down these wormholes, and you end up talking about X, Y, and Z. And I loved it for that. and you go, you're a drummer, you're a drummer, you need to do a drummer. You should really Steve Ferroni. Steve Ferroni, oh my God, you're a drummer. Steve Ferroni, mate. You just don't understand. If you haven't listened to Steve Ferroni with the Heartbreakers and Wildflowers, so probably, here's that side of Will you'd probably get. And I probably but it's hard. Oh God, it's such a hard question. Honestly, it's like, from an emotional perspective, I'd probably go Learning to Fly, but Jesus Christ. And then really deep, I'd go Harry Green, but that's recently. But then I'd go like, what's that beautiful, the swing time song on Wildflowers, and all the rest. It's got the mandolin in it to open up the song.
I'm blanking.
Yeah, me too. And I'd say that I've been listening to that pretty much non-stop since everything, all the rest came out. I'm gonna have to look it up as well, mate,
Me too.
because yeah, it's that beautiful mandolin intro, and it's just, I think, when I said, I think Tom Petty's wife said that when I commented it on Instagram, she was like, "Yeah, Somewhere Under Heaven, that's it, Somewhere Under Heaven."
Okay, right.
And she was like, "Yeah, that's my favorite." And I was like, "Damn straight." It's got 4 million listens on what's its face on Spotify.
On Spotify, yeah.
It's like it's that. Do you know what, man? Like, I'd probably put that up there as well
I think
somewhere.
they released that one, didn't they? Didn't that
Did
get released as
they?
a single? I think
Did it?
so.
Did it really?
I think it might have done, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about that, because I think it might have even like made the rock chart in the US or something. I'm gonna look this up now because it did get
Somewhere
released.
under
That's right. It was a
heaven.
non-album single that came out before they finished off Wildflowers and all the rest. So it came out before
Oh,
the re-release. That's what it is. Yeah.
okay. Because, look, honestly, like, you could just do like this. You could do this all night. If you got a friend who likes acoustic music, right? Try
Yeah.
Wildflowers. It just goes on and on,
There's
doesn't
a bit
it?
of there's a bit of something for everyone. I mean, I always think like if you're into the Kings, well, then I'm going to give you the Man Who Loves Women
right,
from Last
right.
DJ because that's that. It's that. I mean, that is
Yeah.
100% Tom going. I'm going to write a Ray Davis song. So
Okay. Yeah. And like, like do. Where you can't turn them into a company man. Did you ever watch the Simpsons episode where that was on?
oh, geez, no,
It's
probably
so
not.
it's you got to watch it. It's so funny. He's so brilliant. He's totally Tom Petty. Like, like when he's on King of the Hill and all that. Like,
Yeah.
he's so phenomenal. But when the last DJ album was coming out, he went on The Simpsons and with Elvis Costello, I think. Anyway, they put that song in. It's freaking amazing. What a tune. I love, and that album, man. That album
It's
is so
again
good.
grossly underrated. I want to get Jim Ladd on at some point, like the
Yeah.
guy who is sort of loosely based on. And
Yeah.
I think he'd be up for it because he's a pretty outspoken guy himself, right? I think
Okay.
any chance to tell
Yeah.
people that radio needs to be free and people need to be able to choose their own set lists and DJs
Totally.
shouldn't be homogenized into playing the same goddamn thing over and over.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
I think Echo, I know you reference Echo a lot because it is an underrated album massively. But that, the title track Echo, I mean, is that the one with a weird, crazy Mike Campbell guitar solo in it as well? Because that's what I love about, maybe it's not Echo, maybe it's not that track, but that's what I love about that album is it's just a little bit rawer. And
Yeah.
I remember that was the first Petty album when I was probably about 14 or 15 or something like that when it came out. That when I was around for a first
Yeah.
launch of an album, and it
Yeah.
was so important to me. And I remember listening to that really, on heavy rotation when I was a kid at boarding school, and it kept me company.
Yeah.
It got me through some shit, and I just think, but it was also really cool. Like, I think it's just a very kind of as close to Tom Petty could get at times as being like as raw as say I don't know, as raw as like an alt rock band could
I know what
possibly
you
get
mean.
with some of the
100%. I know what you mean. And the same thing with
yeah
Hypnotic Eye, right? They went back to that. Hypnotic Eye is like a garage band album almost in parts, the way it sounds sonically and the way it's mixing the instrumentation's added. But Echoes I mean, again, it
Room
comes
at
on
the
the back
Top.
of Room at the Tops. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Well, when the guitar riff comes in, because you're not expecting that in that song
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
But it makes the
exactly.
song. It is.
And
It's perfect.
those fat open chords,
Yeah.
Oh, you're a free girl now as well. My God.
Which was written for Dana because she was getting harassed at work and she left her job, and so
Oh,
it's a
really?
yeah, and it's a
That's
really
cool.
emotional album.
That's
And
cool.
that's why Tom didn't really like that album because I think it was too personal. I think he thought that he showed too much of himself on it, and also there was a lot of
No
shit
fair
going on
play.
still
Yeah.
then with his ex-wife, and so yeah,
God, yeah, there's so much in his life, isn't there? God, so much. You know, and I'd imagine just like the people that he's probably had lost around him as well. You
yeah,
know, like George and what have you, having Roy Orbison. Oh my God, like having probably met the
yeah.
guy then and what have you, then dying like this is horrific. But that album, man, that album, actually, you know what, it came out in '99. I would have been like 18, 19, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, it's amazing how your mind rearranges stuff like that.
Absolutely.
It's so
It only gets
bizarre.
worse the older you get, mate. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take your word for that. I believe you completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you got 3 words to describe Tom Petty, how do you describe Tom Petty in 3 words?
Oh God, so difficult. Like, utterly pure soul, I think.
Love it.
Yeah, like totally. Just the absolute essence of everything you want from a human being, self-awareness and enough self-respect to pursue his art at such a young
Yeah.
age and take it so goddamn seriously. But you see what he did like the Larry Sanders show. I mean, Jesus Christ, the guy's he and then like the Larry Sanders did an interview with him, right? And Tom's like a bit
Yeah.
high, he's just finished smoking
They both were.
a
Yeah.
joint, right? And God, he's just a lovely, normal human being, and
Yeah.
yeah. And I think when he passed away, like I was in a oh, that was terrible. I was broken by that. I got a text message from my sister saying like, have you heard about Tom Petty? And I was driving at the time, and I I had to like pull over and just
Yeah.
breathe,
Yeah.
and it was like for a lot of people when I know when Bowie died, like the people had a lot of that, but because Petty wasn't a big deal in England, like it was. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, like
Yeah.
truly. And yeah, so yeah,
It's
ultimate human being.